Friends, I'm so excited for this interview today. Today on the podcast, I have my friend and one of my coaches and mentors forever, Sarah Lambert. Sarah is not just a high performance business and leadership coach for entrepreneurs, she is the most incredible, soulful human that I've connected with so wonderfully with her in the last few years. I'm just so excited for this interview. Her work has helped hundreds of women scale their online businesses, me included, in a very aligned and easy way using nervous system informed strategy and leadership. She combines high level strategy and brand building with subconscious identity and nervous system work in a way that allows people to create unmatched results while feeling their best. She has truly been the one that is really helped me embody this nervous system work, and it's changed my life, how I feel within myself and my business. Let's dive in. Welcome to the High Vibes Podcast. I'm Binu, your host. My goal with every episode is to leave you feeling better, shining your light a little bit brighter than before you press play. Let's dive in. Sarah, I am so excited for you to be here with me. Welcome to the High Vibes with Binu podcast.
It is so exciting to be here after months of listening to this podcast and seeing all of your magic. So thank you for having me.
Oh my gosh. I just want everybody to know that you've been probably the coach I've worked with that I've had the most growth with. And no offense to all the other coaches, but literally 2025, I'm saying I had a quantum shift within my mind, body, and soul.
My gosh. Thank you for saying that. That is incredible. And I I don't think you have to say no offense to any other coaches because there comes a certain point in your life where like you choose differently. And I think that I got to be part of that journey, but the way that you showed up is why you had those results.
Mm. And I love that you always poured that back into me. Like you always, and I've learned this from you. And I'm actually, just so you know, I'm paying it forward in ways like it feels so good. And you've been that role model. I always joke with my kids. I'm like, I have this coach. I think she's almost 20 years younger than me, maybe. But she's been my role model in like championing other women, like pouring that light into me and letting me see myself, and for me not shrinking when you would tell me those great things.
I love that. That's so nice.
Like we need more of this, right? Like one of the things we talked about a lot, Sarah, was comparison, right? Like, I would get into comparison with other people, or I would hear that somebody else was doing something and then I would ask you about it. Like, what would you say to the women, whether they have a business or not, when we're comparing ourselves to other women doing things, doing big things, maybe doing things that we want to do?
Why do we do it? Or what, just something that I would say to them?
Yeah, like why do we compare? Because when we compare, we are speaking lack within our own brain, right? We're
Yeah.
feeling less than.
Yeah, I think that it's, of course, normal human behavior to be looking around and noticing other things. And the it's not about never comparing because I don't think that's realistic. I think it's catching yourself and doing it and realizing, oh, okay, there I am. I'm comparing myself. That gets to be data into an opportunity of growth for you. So it's like, where am I comparing? Oh, I see myself comparing my content. I see myself comparing my numbers. I see myself comparing the way I dress. And so instead of saying, don't compare yourself, da da da, it's like, oh, okay, what is that actually telling me?
Mm.
And if you're comparing your content, maybe it might be, okay, I need to look at what I'm saying and really double down on getting clear on my message. And maybe I'm comparing because I don't feel fully convicted. Let me go inwards and be so convicted in my message that I hear what someone else is saying and it doesn't make me waver in what I'm saying because I'm so convicted in what I'm saying. I can just receive that and see that. Same with, you could admire someone's clothes without making it mean anything about you, without comparing it to yourself. You can, oh, okay, I feel so confident in my clothes that I can actually see the beauty in her clothes. It's just changing the dynamic of it.
Yeah, and I think this is, believing that this world is abundant and we all get to have it all. And that word conviction, like I've heard the word, but the way you used it in your programs. I mean, I think first I dabbled in a few of your small programs, and then I hired you as a coach, and it was like you would sit in this energy of conviction. Like why is conviction like do you think that conviction, you just kind of said it, but conviction and self-belief, like how does somebody go from just believing in themselves to literally having conviction about the thing? Let's talk about our businesses because this is where it's really helped me to just be conscious of, am I convicted? So how would you answer that?
Yeah. This is such a good conversation because this word conviction gets thrown around so much. And I've been at conferences where someone, a very high up coach, was talking about how just be more convicted and getting everyone to stand up and say things in conviction. And there is this different energetic behind it. But the conversation that I think is important to have around this is that there's a reason that people have a hard time being convicted. And I don't want anyone to be performing conviction.
Mm.
I want people to actually feel that conviction in their body so that when they speak, it just comes out naturally. You can say it in the way that you say it. You don't have to say it in a way. My conviction is going to sound different than someone else's conviction because I speak differently than you speak. But somebody who's soft and shy and introverted can be extremely convicted. The
Mm.
same way someone who's more extroverted might say it in a different way. And so conviction for me is in having that self-trust, in having that activation in your body around what you're saying. You are so excited and lit up by your work, and you know that this is powerful and you can't help but share it. And you think about the way that when you find a really good show on Netflix, or when you find a really good deal that you want to share with your friends, you're not doubting the deal. You're not doubting the show. You're showing, hey, you got to watch this. This is so good. You got to go check out this sale, da 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 da. But then when it comes to our own work, the reason that it feels hard to show up in conviction is because of our own self-doubt. So we get into our heads. We're like, oh, can I? Is it safe for me to be so convicted in this? Because what if I'm wrong? If someone doesn't like the Netflix show, well, it doesn't really mean anything about you. I mean,
Mm.
they might judge your taste, but like it's not your body of work that they're judging. And so it's vulnerable to be convicted.
Yeah, and you just touched on something that leads me right into my next conversation with you is the safety piece. You're also the one that, I mean, I was hearing this word, feeling safe in your body, feeling safe, I am safe. And I didn't quite get it until we worked together. And so this really leads me to the nervous system work because you offered me this whole other idea around regulating your nervous system so that your body feels safe in this. Like you're being so vulnerable, like conviction about what you believe in, the fear of judgment comes in, and then our bodies feel overwhelmed and stressed by it all. That if we sit in there like that's how I was operating sometimes. I was so convicted, but I was still afraid that I was stepping out and being that new convicted Binu, that my nervous system was kind of having a heyday. And I was just managing it because I could manage it. And then I was
Mm-hmm.
crashing. And
Yeah.
and I didn't realize it until we were working together. And one day I said this to you and you were like, "Oh, I think we should do this nervous system exercise." And so tell me about this because I was saying to you, I think you're the nervous system queen. Like
Yeah.
you're the only one in my world that is speaking so specific about this. And there's two parts of this. Like I love the I am safe piece, like the safety piece. Let's talk about that first, because I have another part that I want to talk to you about that no one ever has talked to me about before.
Okay. Yeah. So the safety, of course, when you're doing big things that you've never done before, you're going to push up against what feels safe in your body, because when we're talking about safety, we're not talking about physical danger. We're not running a business that requires us to be in any physical danger, but our body still perceives certain things as unsafe because they're unfamiliar. And your body, your nervous system, does not care about success. It does not care about your goals. It cares about repeating what it knows. And that's what creates self-sabotage, is because it's like the devil you know versus the devil you don't.
Mm.
The devil you know is the plateau that you're in, or wherever, whatever stage you're in. It's like, no, we're going to stay here at all costs. That's what your nervous system wants. And so in order to actually get to the next level without feeling that dysregulation, we actually have to expand our capacity to hold more of what our body is perceiving as unsafe. So an example of this, a really easy one that people can relate to, is visibility. People all the time, they want their post to pop off. They want to go viral. They want more followers. Well, I don't know about you, but I've gone viral a couple of times, and it's very dysregulating
Mm.
because you're not controlling who's seeing that post. You're not controlling what people think. You're not controlling who's following you. And then all of a sudden, you've had all of these new eyes on you, and you have to go put out another piece of content. And that's always, there were moments when I went viral where I was like, ooh, I can feel my nervous system being activated because of the level of visibility, the amount of eyes that are on me. And now, what are they expecting me to post now?
Mm.
What if the next post disappoints them? What if I don't say the right thing? And all of a sudden you're pushing against these new edges. And so that's where we have to be like, okay, can I create the safety internally to get me back into alignment so that I am not overthinking what to say and I feel okay being seen? And then once you do that, you get the clarity of like, okay, yeah, I just show up in my authentic self. But you have to be able to regulate and create capacity to be seen by more, to be misunderstood, to be judged.
Yeah, and be okay with it. No, this is
Exactly.
actually like really, really important work because I even think about myself last year. So, coming up to this event that I'm doing, last year, coming up to the event, I was keeping myself calm. I was doing calming things. However, I can already tell how different I feel now. Like, I feel so regulated in my nervous system. And last year, I don't think I was. I mean, I was, doing the breath and doing calm things, but I was still had this elevated like feeling. So that to me is mind blowing, actually. Like now it's ingrained in me. Like you've taught me so well. But how do we do this? Like how, like there was one time that you did this with me around money. This is the second part of the question is we were talking about raising my prices for this new program I was putting out. And you put a number out and you said, how does it feel in your body? And I remember every time I was stretching myself, it was in the pit of my stomach. And I just like, well, it's just there. It's just because I'm doing something new. And you taught me something very magical. Like, can you just talk it through
Yeah.
of what you helped me do and what you help all your clients do? Because this is something I don't think people are doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing that so few people are doing it because it's actually so simple. And I believe it is the key to life and freedom. So, what we did in that case, and what we always do when we want to expand our capacity and step into a new reality for ourselves, is that sensation in your body that came up when you started thinking about that amount. That sensation is usually enough to have people avoid actually taking the action, or they might take the action, but they won't get the result because they will unconsciously self-sabotage, because every time they go and state that price, they will have that pit in their stomach. And that pit in their stomach will show up as this lack of power when they communicate their price. And then it will further reiterate the belief that that pit in their stomach and their mind is correlating. So the pit in the stomach happens, and then the mind starts trying to make sense of it.
Mm.
Oh, who are you to charge that? Oh, nobody's going to pay that. X, Y, and Z. Insert all of the BS that our mind will tell us. I like to say that your mind, it's the stories that your mind tells you, it's like sugar to a parasite. So the parasite that's in your stomach, that feeling, it's thriving off of those stories in your mind. And most people are only living in their mind. They don't realize that it's actually rooted in the feeling. And so instead of living in these stories and letting these stories run the show, we actually just dropped in and we told the mind, we're good. We're cutting off the sugar. And now we're going right to the parasite and we're evicting it. And we're feeling it to free it. So what we do is we drop into the body, And without the sugar to the parasite, if we just feel that emotion can actually be processed and released. So we release the parasite, we release the emotion, and then the story doesn't have any reason to come online. Those stories are no longer activated, and that emotion is no longer there. And so all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I don't feel it there anymore. And then you become neutral around it. It's like, oh, okay, I can charge $10,000. I can charge $50,000. I can. And then you go and state your price, and you're stating it from power versus this pit in your stomach that you're trying to avoid. A lot of people can still be successful because they white knuckle it and they just keep performing. But we know that as the type of leaders that we are, that's not how we want to operate. We want to actually feel really good and be like, oh, we've processed that. It's not even there anymore. We get to show up, and the results then reflect that state.
It's actually so powerful. And I remember when we did this the first time, and I want everybody to listen to this because it's not like a one and done, right? Like Sarah, we were working together for 9 months, and I at least can count probably 8 or 9 times that this came up in conversation where you would say, like, where are you feeling this? I'm like, oh, there's that stomach again. And it was like this new muscle that I had to work on. But one of the mind-blowing things that really helped me was you would say things like get out of your mind and just breathe into that part of your body. Like I don't think humans realize how powerful feeling is. Like we've been brought up not to feel. And now feeling the emotion without even naming the emotion is the thing that we do to free ourselves from all things that are keeping us stuck.
Right?
Like what?
It's such a hack because this is why I like to say I believe therapy is incredible, and I believe all the mindset work is incredible, and they all have a place. And there are times I work with very high achieving, fast moving women who don't want to sit and unpack their emotions for hours on end. They want to be like, this is what I want to do, but this is how I feel. We sit with that for a few minutes, and all of a sudden we're on the other side of it. We don't have to get into the drama of it.
Mm.
There are times where certain traumatic events, they might need that. And you go do your therapy around that. But for these business owners who are like ready to go for it and ready to go for the moon, it's like you can do that while also getting your body in alignment with those big goals. And it's going to feel so much better when you do.
It's just so true. And then I had this one experience when we were working together where you were helping me do an Instagram post, and it was, telling the truth about an experience I had with monetary things in my business. And I was really afraid to post it, but I told the story, and you're like, oh my gosh, Binu, this is perfect. You start helping me putting it together, and I could feel my body bubbling up. And I remember saying to you, I know I'm going to post it, but I'm in definitely this very dysregulated place with it. And then I remember, like, I'm curious what you think about this because I remember when I finally just went, I'm just going to post it. I'm just going to post it. I knew it was important, and I was trying to override what was happening in my body. And as soon as I posted it, Sarah, like I was regulated. Like I remember just this ease that came through me. Like let's talk about that. Like what happened? Like I did the scary thing, and then I automatically got regulated?
Yeah. And so in those cases, you're before something happens, it's kind of like bungee jumping, right? The scariest part is going to be when you're standing on the cliff on the side of the thing. Once you jump, you're in full trust, you're surrender, it's
Mm.
out there, you're okay. Now, there are a lot of people who, in that case, wouldn't have been regulated because they would have been waiting for the validation. But because of where you're at in your leadership and your emotional intelligence, for you, it was just getting off the side of the cliff and jumping. And then you're like, okay, now I get to have fun. It's out there. There's no overthinking. I've ripped the band-aid off, so to speak.
Mm. Yes.
Because
Yeah.
you weren't looking for the external validation from there. But there's a whole other camp of people who would post it and then be hyper fixated on who's liking it, who's not liking it. Should I take it down? Oh my gosh, I'm going to put my phone down. I'm not even going to look at Instagram for the rest of the day. Depending on where your nervous system's at, it might be triggered at different stages. But for you, because for you, it was a new, you needed to take the actions. A lot of people also don't talk about the fact that part of nervous system regulation is taking the action. You do ultimately have to take action. And so you were able to regulate enough that you were willing to take the action. It did feel like a pulling of the band-aid off, but you knew that once you did that, you were safe. You were okay. You didn't need the external validation. You were okay.
Yeah, if anything, I was probably afraid of judgment. And I remember truly like some of these cases, I actually walk away from my phone so that I stay in an aligned state and I stay connected to my universe saying, I'm safe, all is well, this is important, this has to get out there, there's women that need to be helped. And then I stay in that state that really, really helps me. So I truly believe in the energy of it all. But if I would have stayed on my phone waiting, I mean, yeah, I let that go a long time ago. It's like I realized like we're here to do this work. We're here to reach people. We're here to live out our mission. And there's people that need to be helped by us. That's why we've been giving this gift. And then we just have to move past these blocks and obstacles and, up level, nervous system up level when we're called to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the next step of power in that would actually be you allowing yourself to feel judged, that feeling of judgment. Because if you are afraid of judgment, you can put it out there and then you see that you're not judged and you see, oh, okay, I'm not being judged. I am safe. I'm okay. And that's the external validation, which is totally fine. We can still enjoy external validation. However, what if you did get judged? Right? Would you have still been able to be okay if you did see that there was judgment, if somebody did make a comment? And that's where, when you actually process the fear of judgment and it's no longer living inside of you, someone can judge you and it doesn't phase you. So
Hmm.
that's the next level of power where it's like, oh, I'm actually not even afraid to be judged.
Yeah, that's powerful. Actually brings back the conviction of what you said at the beginning. When your self-belief is so solid, you are unshakable.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter what people say because you have moved through all of that and released it all that it doesn't matter, which
Exactly.
actually leads me to the next thing that you are just a powerhouse with is really like calling us all forward, Sarah, to step into our light, step into our power. I knew this was going to come forward. Like you started a program with a word in it that I will say today because it doesn't matter anymore. But you started a program called The Big Fucking Deal. And it
Yeah.
is. It's like I'm regulating myself to the word. It's such a good word. It's like I'm safe to say this word.
Mhm.
Like, tell me about this. Like, when I saw you like launch that, I was like, whoa. And then you held an event called The Big Fucking Deal. Okay. Like, just tell me
Yeah.
about this. What is this that came to you and you were like, I have to teach this?
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. This was such a wonderful moment when this all landed, because the story of it, I was at an event, and we've all been at events, and events are incredible. And this was a 1,000-person event. And it was actually pretty wild in terms of nervousness. Like there was a lot going on in this event, multi-day event, and there was a lot going on. And I'm sitting in the audience, and I'm watching the woman on stage, and this woman is making $1 to $1.5 million cash, meaning not sales. Like this is coming into her bank account each month, $1.5 million. And she's not a big systems person. She doesn't pay for ads. Like it's just organic. The amount of money that she's making is so next level. And she's talking about things, and I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And I'm like, this is all things that I know and I embody and I teach, of course, in my way to my people. But it hit me in that moment that the only difference, or the main difference between myself or anyone else who's making a fraction of what she is every month and her, is that she is making her work such a big fucking deal.
Mm.
And then I start thinking about all the other people, like the Mel Robbins of the world and all of these big names that we follow. And if we think about the concepts, you think about the Robbins let them theory. She has, of course, she was famous before she put out that book, but she can take something so simple that all of
Mm.
us teach in theory of like detach from the results and don't worry about what people do. But she just takes this concept and she owns it and she preaches it. And if you ever watch Mel Robbins, she will say something that you've heard 500 times and she will say it like no one's ever heard it before.
Exactly.
And because of the way she says it, you lean in, you pay attention, you want to listen for more, you want to buy your book, you want to. And so it's not about what you're saying. People are trying to reinvent the wheel. They're trying to be different. They're trying just be so convicted in the work that you do and the knowledge that you have and the expertise that you have and make yourself and your work a bigger fucking deal because that's what the world needs. Not from a place of ego, not from a place of I'm better than everyone else, but from a place of the world needs me, the world needs the work that I do, and I have to show up. If I'm not showing up and believing that I'm a BFD, who else is going to? You have to do that first. You have to see yourself and your work as a BFD before anyone else is going to buy into that. And once you do, your next like that is where things compound. That is everything.
Yeah, and then they're going to need you for the nervous system work because that is a big move for so many women. And I mean,
Mm,
I'm seeing this like, I like the word queen. I don't know, it's like brought into my world, but that's every time you would say you talk about BFD, I'd be like, "Oh, it's like this queen energy, right? It's like you are the queen. You're the queen, I'm the queen, everyone's the queen, but we're acting like we're the, I don't know, what's the opposite? The peasant? Like we're
yes.
acting like we're so afraid to lift our head up a little bit, put our hand up, sit at the front of the room for what? For all the fears. For all the fears. But Sarah, honestly, like I needed you to go first. I mean, I know we don't need permission, but I do think we need permission sometimes. We need
Mhm.
someone else that is real, that's a mom who's doing the damn thing and who's showing up not from ego, but from that convicted knowing of who you are for others around you to go, oh my gosh, like I want that. And that was me. I was like, I want a little bit of that. Show me the way. And like I didn't get to come to your BFD live, but the feedback I heard from so many women, like you activated them in such a beautiful way. Like, I can't wait to just watch this ripple. Like, it's rippling through me, but I'm seeing this as my clients are talking about things. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you are the only person that does this in my world. And they're like, yeah, I know. And I'm like, no, 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 you have no idea. Like,
Loud, get loud,
get
get louder.
loud. Yeah.
Mhm. And that's where then the work doesn't become what is my positioning? What is my messaging? What is my funnel? It becomes why does it feel hard for you to show up more convicted? Why does it feel uncomfortable to make yourself and your work a big fucking deal? And
Mm.
it's like there's so many reasons as women as humans, it's like be modest.
Yes.
Don't make people uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the conditioning that we've had since
Mm-hmm.
childhood goes against this concept. But as trailblazers, as entrepreneurs, that is why personal development and nervous system work is so important because we actually have to decondition from so much of the narrative and we have to be willing to go first. We have to be willing to do the things that most people in their lifetime would never be able to do, and that's going to be dysregulating.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you know how to expand into that? And do you know how to create safety around feeling like, no, I can make myself a big fucking deal?
Mm-hmm. I think it's so powerful. And I just think what an embodied energy to teach your kids. And I watch you, and I've said this so many times to you, like it's so amazing that you learned all of this at a young age, that you got to teach your kids whatever, I always say this to you, like for some reason, I was supposed to learn it later in life and undo what I did with my kids, and now I get to teach them this. But your kids get to learn this, like to watch you, show a video of your daughter at Christmas, regulating herself when she knew she needed it in the moment. Like I tell you, all the moms listening, it's never too late. Because literally, Sarah, like women your age, they get to do this with their kids, and women my age, we get to teach them now, even if they're not living in our house anymore, right? Like it's never too late. Like this is powerful work.
Well, this is why I feel like embodiment, I always think about what the things that I'm most embodied in, it's being a conscious parent because that's my role 24 hours a day. When I'm on this, it doesn't matter, you know, kids, your kids come first. If your son or your daughter, one of your daughters calls you right now and there's an emergency, this podcast episode, that's back burner. So as a mom, you're always a mom first. And so even though I'm very much embodied in being an entrepreneur and building a business, what I'm most embodied in and day out is being a leader at home. And
Mm.
with our and it's such a beautiful opportunity because parenting and entrepreneurship are both such mirrors and they're both such an opportunity for growth. And so at home, what I found was at first I was never trying to teach my kids these things. And I remember the first time realizing that it was really rubbing off was actually watching my son at the park sit at the top, and he was probably two. No, he was probably three. And he sat at the top of the slide, the big slide. And I saw him close his eyes and put his hand on his heart and take a deep breath before he slid down because he was nervous. And in that moment, me being like, I've never taught him that, but he sees me, and it's sometimes it's in moments of I'm about to freak out because I'm so dysregulated and I'm like, mommy needs a minute, and I need to dig deep here because I'm feeling dysregulated, or mommy's feeling a little bit nervous, let me just do this. And I explain it and I don't tell him to do it. But when we model this, our kids pick up on it. And whether your kids are 0 or 30, still being able to model that, your energy is contagious. And when they see the way that you're able to show up when you do that, it's just like it's that's leadership.
Mm.
You
I
model it.
love this so much. I love this so much. Like parenting and business are such a mirror. And this embodiment, like this embodied leader, is
Mm-hmm.
so powerful because like this is what we're going to talk on our next episode when we are live at High Vibe Women. But this thing really affected me so deeply, Sarah, like bringing it to sales, like embodied sales. And you've been the masteress at teaching this to me, and I'm so grateful. But so actually, let's like just dive a little bit into it, and then we're going to continue this conversation live at High Vibe Women in the podcast room, which I'm so excited
Yes.
about.
So good.
So like what is this for you? Like if I was just some stranger on the street and I'd be like, Sarah Lambert, what does it mean? Embodied sales.
Mm-hmm. Embodied sales is when your who you are sells for you.
Mm.
So you shouldn't have to try so hard to sell when you are so embodied in what you're doing and you're allowing people to see that. Sales become a byproduct of that. And so, of course, we can leverage sales strategies as long as you are selling something that you were so embodied in. And when I look back at my journey as an entrepreneur, everything was always, everything always happened so naturally. The first time when I started my photography business, it was because somebody asked me if they could hire me to be a photographer because I was embodied in what I was doing. I didn't have an offer, I didn't have a photography business.
Oh.
When I started getting hired as a business coach, it was because they saw that I had built a business and they said, hey, can you help me build mine? People think they need to have their offers and they need to have everything positioned perfectly. In my experience, when you are so embodied in what you do and you just show up and allow yourself to be seen, you're a walking billboard. That sells for you. You then layer in the different strategies. But first comes the embodiment, and your embodiment is your sales page.
This is so mind blowing. I can't wait to dive in on March 7th. But
Right?
this actually changed me, Sarah, and I just want to share this as we're coming to a close because, like the theory of that, the idea of that, I know the women listening who have businesses like feel this. Like I hired other coaches, I bought programs to learn how to make my messaging better. And I remember being in this program and my head hurt. I just kept thinking, I don't think my brain works like this. Like I was trying to figure out their formula and their format, and it just wasn't working. And you come along, and all of a sudden, it's like who I am, just speak that. Who I am, just speak that. And it was like sales after sales after sales. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. And all of a sudden, I realize if it feels like we're going uphill, there's a reason. right? And it should feel like that down and that ease. Not easy, but I had to learn new muscle, but it was like ease.
Yeah.
So thank you because you literally have changed my whole sales strategy. My strategy is me, is like what I embody, the conversations I'm having with my clients. I'm like, oh my gosh, brilliant idea. I just asked ChatGPT to make a couple hooks for me, and then I decide which one feels so good, and I
Yeah.
put it out there.
Yes. And that's where the strategy and the embodiment come so hand in hand because for you, a big part of it, it wasn't like you're great at putting out content. You're so consistent and you're so embodied. It was about bringing it together and being like, here's actually, instead of making the hook this, let's make it this because this is going to speak to your ideal client. This is going to, and so that we layer it in from there. But when people try and be so strategic first and
Yes.
they're not fully embodied and they're trying to figure out the right words to say,
Mhm.
but it's not connecting to their audience, it's because when you lead with embodiment first and then you layer in the strategy, you can't go wrong.
Mm.
But the problem is this, it sounds so simple, but it's probably one of the hardest things that people can do because we are the ones getting in our own way. Our nervous system is going to get in our own way because it's going to tell us, well, no, this person is doing it this way, or, well, no, you can't say that, or what if that client knows you're talking about them, or whatever the story. And then we have to be able to in-source our safety, get neutral around whatever is happening in our body so that we can show up in our power and actually show up in our authenticity, in our embodiment, and in our truth.
Mm. Imagine a world where we get just to be like that ourselves, our true authentic selves, and the world gets to benefit and learn from us all with ease.
Right.
Sarah, this has been so good. Okay, we're going to be continued on March 7th at the High Vibe Women event. Come see Sarah and I live in the podcast room. Sarah,
Yes.
please let everybody know where they can find you so they can consume all your knowledge and all your wisdom, and where can they work with you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram, the Sarah Lambert, and I have a free challenge that is open for anyone to join. It's called the Reality Shift Challenge. Jump into that if you want to start to work on this a little bit. And then, yeah, reach out on Instagram. There's plenty of ways to work with me, and I'd love to chat more. So, but Binu, I just want to thank you for having me. Working with you last year was, I always said, like, you're my favorite, because the conversations that we had, and truly we could probably release every coaching sessions we did as a whole podcast series, because the conversations that we had were always just so good. And watching the way that you lead yourself and the way that you lead your communities and the work that you're bringing to them is so inspiring. Even like as your coach, just so inspiring to watch the way that you show up, not just for your community, but also one of the biggest things that I'll say about you is you have such a growth mindset and you go into every situation in every room so open to receive. And I really always found that because I know that you've heard this, everything like you've heard it all, but because you're so open to receive a message and for things to land differently, that is why you're growing so fast and you are going to absolutely take over your niche in the industry, because you have such a growth mindset and it's so inspiring to work with you and to be around you.
Thank you, Sarah. I am like receiving all that in my heart. I
Good.
adore you. It's been such a pleasure. I'm so glad we finally did this episode. And so, to be continued, thank you for being here. Thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you listening. If this episode resonated with you and you wish to speed up your growth, feel free to check out my programs and services. Just go to my website, binu.ca. And if you know someone else who is seeking more meaning in life and could use some inspiration and high vibes along the way, please pass them on to me. It would mean the world. And it goes a long way if you take a few seconds right now and leave me a 5-star review and share this with your friends. I'll be forever grateful.